In conversation with Amanda Denham. Amanda Denham was born in Alabama and still resides there with her husband, family, friends, and her pet rabbits. As a teenager, she loved to read young adult books and comics, which inspired her own creative ideas. Amanda also adores art and usually comes up with her book's idea by drawing her characters. Her stories focus mainly on the relationship between her characters, but there is always a fantasy twist. Sin Eater is her first published novel. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to have on the show today, Amanda Denham. How are you doing, Amanda?
I am great. I am over COVID. I am over a bunch of health issues. So this is great. I don't look weird. I don't feel weird. Just normal.
That's
Great.
amazing, really. And it's lovely. I love our fun way of entry. The joke we made initially before recording still cracks me up, really.
We're good though. We're recording. We've got audio. I think we'll see.
Everything is said. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Amanda, I want to first say that I found the description of Saint Eater to be quite captivating on Amazon. And I would like to ask you, how does this book come about? What inspired you to write Saint Eater?
It's funny. I always feel like I bring the conversation down when someone asks about that because it definitely came from a lot of a painful time.
Wow.
Um, I went through something really just unexpected and quite horrible for me.
Mm,
And I kept thinking, like, it kind of tainted past memories as well.
mm,
And I kept thinking, what if I could just get rid of those memories? I could move forward, healthier, better mental state. And that soon started me thinking about, like, would people do that if there
mm,
was a way to go somewhere and just have this memory kind of taken out? Would they do that? And then that evolved into what if somebody had the power to do that? And that's how my
mm.
main character, Jade, was born with her powers to erase memories.
Wow.
So, fun process.
Yeah, it's really a fun process, and I love your description of the making of it. Sounds quite captivating to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,
That's good because synopsises are really hard to write. So, I
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah. And now, your illustration are included on the cover and inside the book. What
Yep,
significance do they have to you? Would you love to talk about that? I'd love you to
sure.
show the book to the camera if you have copy there
Yeah,
with you.
definitely. Got one right here. So this is the cover he was talking about.
Hmm.
That is a drawing I did. I'm gonna
Wow.
age myself like 10, 12 years ago,
Beautiful, really.
maybe more.
Yeah.
Um, and my publisher had the idea because I obsessively, as my description he said earlier, I obsessively draw characters before I ever write about them. They just get stuck in my head.
Hmm.
So my publisher had an idea to put illustrations in to the book.
Wow.
Excellent idea. They mean a lot to me because I usually kind of give myself therapy through art.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things that I feel like I don't say. So I get to say them through the artwork and I get to get those feelings out.
Hmm.
And that's not something that I share much with people. So the fact that it's in a book now that everybody can see the characters, see how I picture them in my head. And on top of that, some of them are drawings that I did of places that are based in Sin Eater settings from my hometown. So they also
Hmm.
get a little glimpse into my life too. So it's
Yeah.
just so many things that it means to me. And kind of a little dream come true, to be honest, to combine my art and my writing as well.
It's amazing, really. And I love your description of that. And, it's something that I think, all covers as a message on itself that's a bit different, though very related to the novel, but it acts a significant meaning to the author. I've come to think of it that every book cover has a message behind it. Every book title even has a message behind it, apart from the original story in the book. And that's such an amazing way, to get into writing. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. I love that you interpret it that way because, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. There is a story behind almost every part of a book that's not even the
absolutely.
story of the book.
Yeah, it's all part of the creative art. That's what we call of this art of the thing. Yeah, lovely to know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really cool.
absolutely. And now for readers who haven't read Sin Eater yet and without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect in terms of themes picking up Sin Eater?
You don't want me to read the last chapter to you guys and
Yeah,
just
you
give
can
everything
do
away?
that. That'll be fun.
The themes are a big one is forgiveness. And not
Mm.
even of other people, but of yourself. You're
Mm.
going to make
Wow.
mistakes. You're going to do things that maybe you're not so proud of. And that's okay. As long as you go forward and try to be better, then you should hopefully be able to forgive yourself.
So,
Um, Another big theme are healthier coping mechanisms for the bad times.
mm.
Um, I feel like there's a lot of media out there, even for younger people, that show a lot of unhealthy healthy coping mechanisms. There's a lot of drinking,
Yeah,
smoking,
yeah,
bad relationships, abusive relationships,
absolutely.
and um, I always want a theme of trying to promote healthier relationships and healthier ways to get your feelings out. I know a lot of people
Mm.
can't afford therapy or go to therapy, or maybe even it wouldn't work for them the way it might work for some people.
Mm.
So I talk a lot about art therapy in the book, and then of course writing,
Wow,
dancing, just whatever kind of art to express yourself in. I think that is such an amazing way to therapize yourself, if that's even a word.
absolutely.
I'll look that up
Yeah,
later.
yeah. I love your take on that actually, and thank you so much for sharing. And your answer to that actually want to make me to ask you, how do you think the book will help spread mental health awareness for youth? Would you love to mention that too?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people discount teenagers and young adults.
Mm.
I feel like they look at them and think, well, I had to go through it, so they can too, or they'll be
Mm.
fine because I turned out fine. And I
Mm.
think that
Uh,
people look at that young adult group, the 12, 13 to 18, as, oh, they're adults now. They can take care of themselves. That's good, but
yourself.
they still need that guidance.
Mm.
Um, and so this is a perfect way, I hope, in fiction to show that they're still growing up. They're still trying to get to adulthood and they need that guidance and they need that adult good influences on them to bring them to a healthier adulthood because I think a lot of people get hands off with their young adults after a certain point.
Mm. Wow. I love your take on this, really. It's quite thought provoking and very educative as well. Thank you for mentioning. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a lot, really. Thank you. Now, let's
Okay.
talk about inspirations and ideas, which is one of the major things that always surprises me as far as writing is concerned, because I've always been fascinated, surprised, amazed by how writers, especially novelists like yourself, bring words together and put sentences together that make paragraphs, that make pages, that make chapters, that makes an entirely interesting huge novel. Don't just leave me. How did they get the inspirations and ideas to write this thing? They just see them and bring all of these things together, without any sort of issues. Now, I'd love to ask you as far as writing is concerned. How do you get your inspirations and ideas? Where did they come from?
That's a good one. Um, this one in particular, Sin Eater, as you saw, like it came from my own experiences. This
Oh,
book will probably always be the most me because it's based on my hometown. People have asked me, "Hey, is the main character kind of based on you?" And I'm like, "Ah, no, but you can't. I guess you can't help but put yourself in as well." So a lot of my book, this first one, is very, very me, just things that I've experienced, dialogue with my friends that we joke around back and forth. But others that I have written or I'm in the process of writing could be from song lyrics. I get a lot of inspiration from music,
Mm,
other art forms, basically. When I read other books, it gives me ideas. There
wow.
are certain authors that really speak to me with their writing, so it makes me
Mm,
want to write. So lots of art forms really just get that inspiration going.
yeah, that's quite lovely, really, because I've always been surprised about how people come and, sit down and do all of this together. And it's so nice to hear your opinion about how your inspiration come to be. That's quite
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah,
Make art. Other
yeah,
people might make art because I see your art. So
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. This is quite fun, really. Thank you. Now, apart from Sin Eater, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
but yes, I have a book that's pretty much fully written. I want to do some revisions on it because, any of you writers out there, you know that it takes a bazillion revisions before you're happy with it. I'm probably
Yeah,
gonna like kind of tear it apart and put it back together. That's gonna be fun. So excited
yeah.
about that. But I'm also working on the sequel to Sin Eater, so it will be a.
Wow,
I'm not sure if it'll be a trilogy. It'll definitely be a duology, but I am working on the sequel as
wow.
well, and I'm super excited about it.
That's amazing. And I hope that goes on successfully. That would be
Thank you.
great. Yeah, that's lovely.
It's always a struggle.
Yeah. We
It's
all know
always a
that writing
struggle.
is not easy. It's not an easy task, really. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I
Definitely
think that writers needs to be more praised for their works.
be nice. Just have somebody behind you just be like, it's okay, sweetie. Just keep going.
Somebody
It's
to pay
okay.
you, so yeah, it's okay. Yeah, keep on going. Don't give up. It will pay
It's fine.
eventually. The light is on the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, you'll get there. Just because you only wrote 200 words today, it's fine.
That's quite fun. Yeah, so fun to speak with Amanda. Thank you. Now, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing your book and also ever since it got published?
Biggest challenge for me is just, funnily enough, in this interview, talking about it. I drawing and writing and things for my whole life has been very solo.
Uh,
I didn't really talk much about what it meant to me. Most
mm,
people look at art or something, might go, "Oh, that's nice," and then just move on.
yeah,
So I'm just not used to getting it out there like this, and it's hard to get it out there. It's hard to
yeah,
market your book.
very.
That's a biggie. I don't. It's hard for me to talk about myself and my work. My publisher has been very encouraging. She wants me to go to schools. She wants me to
Wow.
go to libraries and book signings, and I'm sitting here like, okay. Like, okay, I have to like talk in front of people and tell people like, hey, this is cool. Like,
Mm,
like so that's been the hardest part, is the marketing part and the sharing it part. Because it does get you out of that comfort zone
yeah,
and try to convince people that it is worth reading, and here are the list of the reasons why, when a lot of creative people out there might be able to agree that you did it for you mostly, and so
mm,
now it's putting that public eye on it that's really nerve-wracking.
absolutely. That's lovely,
Yeah.
really. I love your take on this. I love your take on this, Amanda. Quite beautiful to know. And now, is there anything that you would love to share with the viewers about your book that we did not mention in this interview and I'd love the viewers to know?
Hmm. I think that one of the biggest things I'd like to share is that while my book is labeled anywhere you see it as young adult, it's
Yeah.
good for ages 12 or 13. By
Wow.
all means, it is still great for an older audience. I've had 60-year-olds come to me and tell me that they really enjoyed reading it, 30-year
Wow.
olds, new moms, just anything like that. They say that
Interesting.
they get something out of it. 'Cause I know a lot of people get turned off sometimes by the young adult label. They might
Yeah.
think the book is not as mature or not going to be something they can relate to. So I'd really like to put that out there, that don't worry about that young adult label. It's something that I think anybody can enjoy.
That's lovely. I love your take on this, really. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning. And now, Amanda, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with writing and publishing a book in this category, in your genre of literature? What would you advise people in this category?
It's a really good question. And always what pops into my head is to keep in mind that your story does matter. Um,
That's matter. Yeah.
I I always have this, I think they call it like imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
where you just think that nobody's gonna care, who's gonna
Yeah.
read
Everybody
this,
have that.
like yeah, like who, like who's gonna care about this, my stupid
Yeah.
book.
Mm.
But keep in mind, like just from my experience, there have been so many people that have come out of the woodwork that I haven't talked to in years who messaged me to say, "Hey, I read your book and I loved it." The reviews
Wow.
that pop up from people you don't know
Yeah.
that tell you, "Please keep writing. This was my favorite, like one of my favorite books I read this year." Like
Mm.
it does happen, and every story is worth telling. If you have something in there, get it out. The world
Yeah.
wants to see it. You may not think so when you're sitting alone at your desk and it's scary. It's frustrating to write it, but like when it's done, people do want to see it. Your story matters for sure.
Yeah, that's lovely. I love your take on this, really. I love your take and I love your advice, really. I'm hoping that viewers would love to utilize it. Thank you so much for your word of advice.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it encourages because it's as you said, it's tough out there. So,
Yeah, yeah. Now, Amanda, just so we have some people who are currently watching this interview, I would love to get a copy of your book. On what platform is it available on for purchase?
oh gosh, my publisher did really well. She has it available a lot of places. Of course, Amazon.
Yeah,
It's on barnesandnoble.com, booksamillion.com. Waterstones is apparently like a an overseas book supplier that she got it into. Kobo, Apple Books.
yeah.
There's like a universal link that, of course, I could give to any. Just like there's so many. I'm surprised by how many places she made it available.
Wow.
So it's pretty widespread. So
That's great. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview
oh,
where interested
okay.
viewers can get a copy of Amanda Denham's book directly on Amazon
Awesome.
and also another platform. So thank you so much, Amanda, for accepting the invitation to be featured in P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. It gives me less jitters to talk about it later, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love to hear that. Thank you so much. That was fun, really.